All right, good evening, everyone. Second part of a meeting, second uh, evening of study of the Medium's book. It just restarted again last week. We are almost done with the introduction. We're going to start in this paragraph that says this second edition. And I think I could go ahead and read, and we will talk about the whole introduction as a whole. So, Ryder, do us the pleasure.
Okay.
Thank you.
This second edition has been much improved over the first. It has been corrected very carefully by the spirits, who have added a large number of observations and instructions of utmost interest.
Sorry.
Okay, since it was
It's
there.
very sensible, this book.
Yeah, I know. It's okay. Okay. Since it was there, they who would revise the entire work, improving or modifying it as they saw fit. We can state that for the most part, it is their work, since their contribution was not only limited to the segments actually signed by them. However, we have only indicated their names when it seemed necessary to characterize some of the more extensive expositions that proceeded from them textually. Otherwise, we would have had to mention the names on almost every page, particularly in the responses given to our questions, a procedure that did not seem worthwhile to us. It is well known that names are of little importance in such matters. What is essential is that the work as a whole corresponds to the proposed objectives. The reception given to the first edition, imperfect though that edition was, gives us hope that the present one will be no less. Let's go on.
Our last welcome is there. That's right.
Am I there?
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay, even though we have added much material, is that where we're at? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Cut out, John. Something is there. Right.
Agree with this.
Okay. Even though we have
Increase a little
added
bit.
much material, including many entire chapters, we have also eliminated a few repetitious segments, such as the spirit hierarchy, which may already be found in the spirit's book. Furthermore, we have omitted from the glossary whatever did not properly fit the scope of this work and have appropriately replaced it with something more practical. Moreover, this glossary is not complete. We intend to publish one later and separately as a small dictionary of Spiritist philosophy. In this edition, however, we have preserved only new or specific words that are related to the subject at hand. Allan Kardec. When we use the term the spirits with a capital S, the text referring to the group of highly evolved spirits involved in revealing the Spiritist doctrine.
Thank you. So this is the end of the introduction. As we saw and spoke last week, to read an introduction of a book is extremely important, as unfortunately most of us have a tendency to ignore it and jump to the real matters. But the introduction, especially on the books of the codification, all of them, if we miss the introduction, we may not get the whole book, because it gives very direct objectives and purpose of this book. It gives very good guidelines for the reader how to read this book, what to expect, what is the object of it. And as I have said before, the subtitle of this book, or the complete name of this book is The Medium's Book, or Guide to Mediums and Evokers. And as I had mentioned many times, in my opinion, those subtitles should be more present in the presentation of the book, but for some reasons always kind of ignore it. But when you read the subtitle, it says, or Guide to Mediums and Evokers, it in itself is a very good introduction of what to expect out of this book. And that's perfect. That's exactly what this introduction does. It gave us the objectives of Kardec on writing this book, on how to prepare mediums to use this talent that they have, and how to prepare us, a general population who does not have an ostensive mediumship, how to make use of that talent indirectly. But how can we profit from it? How can we use it to educate ourselves and to educate others? And by others, I mean incarnate and discarnate as well. Okay, and that was covered the last week. And this week, Kardec is very honest and very careful to put things clearly. What he calls the first edition is exactly what I have mentioned last week. After he wrote the Miriam's book, after he wrote the Spirit's book, the very first book of codification, he was questioned consistently about mediumship in itself. So he prepared a small booklet, basically a booklet of short answers, explain a little bit of mediumship, and went into other subjects. So Kardec felt the necessity to make some correction, and more important, the spirits with a capital S, as mentioned over here, the enlightened spirits, they saw the need of making some improvements on that booklet, to add something and to remove some other things. And in this process, it gave life to the Miriam's book as we know it now. Kardec is very clear to point out that most of this book is actually written by those spirits with a capital S. The majority of what we read here is not only coming from Kardec, but mostly from the spirits with a capital S. And that is very honest and is very important that Kardec leave this for us. Kardec basically was learning mediumship from the spirits. Remember that there was nothing before Kardec. Right? Kardec could not go to a library, could not go anywhere and pick up a book of mediumship because there was none. Mediumship always existed. Okay? As long as there was human beings, one here and one in the spiritual world, there was mediumship. But a literature, informations, if you need to study mediumship, there was nothing. So Kardec himself was learning from the spirits. So most of this book actually comes from the spirits. Of course, there's a lot of Kardec here, but he puts clearly that most of the book comes from the spirit. So he says, since it was they who revised the entire book, approved and modifying it as they saw fit, we can state that for the most part, it's their work. He mentions that himself here. And at times, and that's very important also, he puts a name of one another spirits after one text. And when he sees that it's fit, when he sees that it's important, when he sees that it is almost like a little bit apart from the rest of the spirits with S, that deserves to have the name of that particular spirit. And we see a lot of Erastus here that have a huge contribution in this book. St. Louis has a huge contribution in this book. So when he sees fit Kardec, and that's Kardec works, he does put a name when he thinks it's necessary. He mentions over here about the glossary that he removed some words, put some other words, and had the intention of coming up with a dictionary for spiritism that I'm not sure if he actually came out with that. Do you know, João, if it actually exists, this dictionary actually exists?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. I think we have our own glossary that we created for our site, and Sarah was actually revising this week, but I'm not sure Kardec ever came with the glossary.
Yeah, it was just curious because he says we intend to publish one later and separate as a small dictionary of spirituous philosophy. I don't know if you ever got to do it, but I never heard of it. I don't know if it was done or not. So does anyone have a question and comment? I'd like to bring back the question, that very good question placed by Renato of why study mediumship? Some people does not have really an interest in this part of the doctrine. And just as before the meeting, talking with Luis and João and talking about people have some preference. Some people likes more of the scientific aspect. Some people like more of the philosophical. For some people it's all about the gospel. But the doctrine is one integral doctrine in a whole without any separations. We create the separations for dietetics, for our own personal interest. But you cannot take one apart from the other, or there is no more doctrine. And the same way as in our academic years, we have our preferences. Some like the social sciences, or also likes more the physical sciences. Some people enjoys very much mathematics, others dislike mathematics. Others are very good at languages. And the successful student is the one who puts effort to understand all of them and strives to do well with all of them. And the same thing with the doctrine. You cannot leave one in favor of the other, or you don't have the integrity of the doctrine any longer. Besides that, as we can see here, the whole doctrine is made out of mediumship. It's the spirits who brought this doctrine for us. And we may ask, how is that possible? How can these people who are dead such a long time ago come back and give us this information and even put their name underneath of it? Does it have any veracity? Can we really trust this? And for that reason, I believe in the part one that we start now, preliminary observations, Kardec started chapter 1, which may be for us right now a silly question. Are there spirits?
Okay.
One of us may look at this question and say, oh my God, I'm out of here. I'm way done with that. I'll come back when we go to part 2 or chapter 2. Maybe actually, all right. But let's put ourselves again at the time of Kardec, 1861. There was no literature. There was nothing. You could not go to a library. You could not go anywhere and get any important information, significant information about spirits. So it was then, and it is still now for most of us, for many people throughout this planet, as we're going to read here now, a very important and meaningful questions. And I remember once Mother Teresa, in one of her interviews, talking about the many times that she doubted the existence of God. I mean, and this is someone who served God with all her power, with all her intellect, with all her heart. All she does is to serve God. At a time she would doubt the existence of God. So it's possible that one of us may question and doubt the existence of spirits, even for us in the field for a few years now. So reading this is important, and if it's not for us right now, I'm sure for some other people around us, it is a significant question nowadays, and was obvious, an absolute necessary question at the time of Kardec.
Okay. Are there spirits? The cause of doubt regarding the existence of spirits is due primarily to ignorance of their true nature. Spirits are usually imagined to have been created as a separate class of beings whose existence has not yet been proven. Many persons are only familiar with spirits because of the fantastic stories they've heard as children, which would be like trying to know someone's life's history by reading a novel. Apart from the absurdities that upset them, they do not try to find out if these stories, if divested of nonsensical accessories, might have some basis in truth. They do not want to put forth the effort to remove the bitter shell of the nut in order to get at the kernel inside. Therefore, they reject the whole, as do those involved in religion, who, upset by certain abuses, include the whole matter under one and the same condemnation. If we believe in the existence of the soul and its continued individuality,
No.
No.
Top,
Whatever.
oh, I'm sorry.
Whatever idea.
Okay. It goes, jumps fast, okay. Whatever our idea about spirits may be, such belief is necessarily based on the existence of an intelligent principle apart from matter. This belief is incompatible with the complete denial of such a principle. Therefore, we take our departure from the existence, survival, and individuality of the soul, of which Spiritism offers us as a dogmatic, theoretical demonstration, while Spiritism offers a patent demonstration. For the moment, however, let us set aside spirit manifestations per se and reason by indignation. Let us see what consequences may result. Continue?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So Kazakh starts saying that perhaps the cause of this doubt regarding the existence of spirits is due primarily to the ignorance of the true nature. Let's leave aside that we have been exposed to this doctrine. Let's forget about that. Let's imagine it's impossible. We cannot do it. We cannot unlearn something. Once we learn it. But let's pretend that we can unlearn right now, and you go unlearn ourselves of spiritism. All of us have heard of spirits somehow. Without the doctrine of spiritism, we all have heard of spirits somehow. The problem is that how having a very determined, a very fabrication of our creativity is always into the mythical and the mystical, right? Without any scientific background, without put any reasoning into it. So children, you learn all the fables that involves spirits. I have a problem with most of those names in English, right? But there is many tales of non-physical, non-material entities. Some good, some very good ones, some who can really help us, and some not so good, some pretty bad, some that come to disturb, come to do us harm. Outside of spiritism, we have heard of those stories, but they all into the mystical, the mythical, the magnific, the fantasies. We have heard of it, and a lot of people hears those. Okay, are they true? Are they not true? There is a element of truth in them. I was just, for some reason, I was looking something in Portuguese, and I saw something about the werewolf. And then in Brazil, there is the lobisomem, which is the same werewolf. It's the human wolf, or the human that transforms itself into a wolf and causes harms to others. And the same werewolf, they have in different other cultures or the countries or things, They have things like that. And we know that there is truth in repetition. Our science does that. If you repeat the same experiment under the same conditions and you get the same result, it comes from being a theory to be a fact, right? So there's truth in repetition. So what is Amos saying? That the werewolf there's truth in the werewolf? No, I'm not saying that. But we study in spiritism lycanthropy. We study in spiritism that the malleability, all that will be covered in this book, the malleability of our spiritual body under the imposition of our mind can be changed in its shape. And some may take the form of animals. So it could be that some ostensive mediums or seeing mediums had the misfortune of seeing such spirits in that state of lycanthropy. Not saying that that's the case, but is there a possibility? Is there a tinge of truth in the tales of the werewolf? Because there's repeats in different cultures, and we do know scientifically of the malleability of the perispirit and and some of the phenomena of lycanthropy. So there might be a little touch of truth in it. But of course, because it's usually in the beginning, it's an oral tradition and it goes from one mouth to another ear, and that ear will puts it 5 cents of information that before it passes to another ear, and things change and it changes, and at the end, it stays with 99.9% fantasy and 0.1% of truth behind of it. And very often that 0.1% of truth is that what's really significant. Perhaps werewolf is a problem of lycanthropy, which again, I'm not saying that it is, but it's at least a reasonable hypothesis. Okay? And the same thing for the good spirits. I don't even know in English. I'll say father. What is father in English? In the fairy tales, the fathers.
Fairies.
Fairies. Yeah. Perhaps those are you're protecting guiding spirits there with you when you happen to have in that ostensive mediumship of being a seeing medium and had the lucky of seeing one of them. So it's because of our ignorance to the true nature of spirits that we choose to disbelieve. Now, as you mature yourself intellectually, and there is nothing to complement the fantasies, then when we become intellectually smart enough, so no, it's not possible, there is nothing to it. And there is nothing to open our mind for some other possibilities. We just say, forget about this thing, does not exist. This is for children or this is for ignorant ones. So what happens very often, if we are not properly educated, the more educated ones, the more intellectualized ones will just reject everything, forget about everything. And unfortunately, the more simple ones, culturally speak, will live in a state of fear of those things. And with education, we eliminate both the rejection and the fears. And that is the objective of this book as well. Comments, questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure, thank you.
I was thinking about the ignorance part, and well, okay, let me go straight to the point. When I talk to different people, different religions, they mention all the time the Bible, and I'm not expert in Bible, don't read much, you know, and they always ask me, show me in the Bible where it says that there is reincarnation, being one of the bases of the spiritism. So, and they always show to me like the man die only once. After the dead will be the judgment day and all those things. And I'm kind of from the very literally I read from the Bible, it's not like clear cut. There is reincarnation. You will die and you'll have many opportunities to better yourself. And since the Bible is one of the most known and read books out there, based from lots of religion, do you think if we had the particular aspect, reincarnation, clear on Bible, the ignorance part would be different and people will accept more the reality of spirits and the spiritual life?
Personally, no, because Jesus mentioned reincarnation in his passage a couple of times. You know, when pointing to John the Baptist, he says this is Elijah that returned, and when he says unless what the spirit is of spirit, what's flesh is flesh, is flesh, and unless a man be born again out of water, he shall not reach the kingdom of God. It's clearly statements of reincarnation, but he needed to limit his teachings to what we could grasp at those days, and even that was a lot to us already, and promised to send a consoler to further explain his words that he could not do at that time. So there is this passage that I don't know if I could remember, and no, I don't know much of the Bible myself. If I could remember all the passages, there is many of the passages of reincarnation in the Gospel of Christ, and there is a few in the First Testament as well. But since was created a dogma that incarnation does not exist, a dogma that remove reincarnation from Christianity, then those are not mentioned. Those are not counted as part of the Bible, basically. And of course, we being prejudiced in the belief of reincarnation, we always bring those things that are there in the Bible. And those who rejected the reincarnation, being prejudiced against reincarnation, we use everything in the Bible that does not point to reincarnation. But there is some passages of reincarnation, especially in the Gospel of Christ, and a few also on the First Testament. But would that, if Christ had said clearly reincarnation explained as the Spiritism explained to us, would that make a difference? I don't think so. Because it's not what's in the book, is what it's within us. Is we need to progress, we need to elevate ourselves to get to that point to be able to understand those concepts. I think that the further explanation of reincarnation came at the right time. And it's there for everyone who wants to see it without prejudice. If we're able to free ourselves from it.
Yeah, it was no, because people that don't want to see, since they hide behind whatever they find in the Bible, not to believe on the reincarnation, the afterlife, and everything. It's when I agree, because I saw some of the passages as well that mentioned that, and then they come with like no, it's not that it was reincarnate. He was being as was the other guy, like in the same the same mission, whatever. It's not reincarnation. That was not what Jesus was trying to say. And then I just, you know what, whatever. But yeah, I agree with you. I just thought that if it was clear in the Bible, it was gonna be very hard for those people not to believe, because they always, you know, hide behind what Jesus says. And if he had said that there is reincarnation, game over. That was what Jesus said. So if you want to interpret different, that's your problem. And then sometimes I wonder if he didn't say, and then the people that, you know, actually translate or whatever, as we studied, you know, a couple studies ago, they decide to not to put that in a book, but that's for
Yeah.
another discussion.
Yeah, that's another
The,
point.
the concept of reincarnation that didn't exist at that time, as we understand it today, there was a lot of confusion between resurrection and reincarnation. It was not clear. The concept of coming back in a different body was not something that was easily explained and understood at that time. And I think that's why Jesus couldn't say it clearly. Again, that's my opinion.
No, I agree. But even though he does mention it in many passages, but could not further explain, because would be extremely abstract topic for our ignorance at that time. But when he says that many of the, so some passages, the ones that comes very quick to mind is point that John the Baptist did is Elijah who returned. It's a clear saying in case there's reincarnation, unless a man be reborn of water, he cannot reach the kingdom of God. So there is, we have to come here quite a few times before and purify ourselves. That's a very clear indication. But again, we are prejudiced towards reincarnation, and we can use those things as proofs of Jesus mentioned reincarnation, and those have their prejudice on the other direction and say, no, absolutely not. It's different. They have their prejudice, we have ours. And that's why it's important we mention all the time to eliminate belief and place knowledge into it. Because now, like to believe the form for us, we know of reincarnation, we know reincarnation. And once you know, it's no longer a matter of believing. And somebody is not going to have enough arguments for us to change our mind and say, oh, no, I don't believe in incarnation anymore. Because if it's a base of belief, you can believe and disbelieve. But once you know it. And I like to believe that us doing these studies right now, we reach that point that we know of reincarnation. And once you have the knowledge, there is no argument to erase it from us.
And just out of curiosity, do you think once science gave in and believed that there's reincarnation, spirits, and everything, would all of us be in a consensus?
No. There's that you are group in the people doesn't believe the men have touched on earth, right? There is a group in England of the people to reject the idea that God, the human ever going to the moon. There is a group of people that doesn't belong on the law of evolution or the theory of evolution. There are people doesn't believe that was ever something called dinosaur. There's no human imagination. And science prove all of them.
The earth flat earth, right? Those that believe that the earth is flat.
Yeah,
There's a group.
I mean, it's scary, but because again, it's not the outside, it's the inside. It's when we open ourselves, when we are able to free ourselves from all those prejudices that hold us in the mud of ignorance, then we can get out of it. For someone today, and sorry, does not believe there were ever dinosaurs on Earth, it's this. What can scientists do to them? It's not the inside, the outside, it's the inside.
Thank you.
Sure. And then just to finalize the very last paragraph, Kardec tells us that spiritualism does speak of the existence of spirits, or something like spirits. And by spiritualism, everything that believes in the existence of the soul, that once we die, there is something, something that goes to heaven, or something that goes to hell, or something that stays hanging out in purgatory. Some that believe that when you die, they have to put all of our belongings inside of that coffin because we may need that on the other side. So there is all the spiritualism believes in something more than matter. Call it spirit, call it soul, call it whatever, right? But there is some belief on that. And some of the spiritualist schools actually perform exercise mediumship. The way the spiritism as a new science, as a new doctrine breaks apart from the spiritualism is exactly what he says over here. Spiritism of a patent demonstration. It shows it scientifically. But Kardec is so reasonable to say, let's forget about the phenomena for now. Let's not even go there. Because going there it's a final and undisputed proof of the existence of spirits, period. So Kardec don't want to start with the end. Because if you start, let's consider the phenomena right now. So that says, let us set aside the spirit's manifestations. If he starts with the spirit manifestations, he already starts with the conclusion. It's like game's over, guy, you lose. Right? No, he wants to bring us to reason with him the existence or not of spirits. So he leaves the phenomena, the manifestations, for later. Let us not consider it right now. And that is extremely clever of Kardec, of course. Questions, comment?
Sorry, this subject is very interesting. Because I was thinking, when you teach a child, and we're teaching our children for millennia, there's always, it's like the same way. You go in the first grade and second grade and third grade, you learn how to talk, to write. It's always, there's the system improves, but it's always the same. But in the Spiritism, we understand that in the beginning, because of the codification, everything, we had to have all the physical phenomena, the tables and everything in order for us to learn and grow. And nowadays we don't have that because, we have the books, and it's kind of, you either believe or you don't. We're not going to be flipping things just for the sake for you understand. And, you mentioned that plenty of times, that if the person doesn't want to believe, even though a spirit materializes in front of them, they're gonna say it's a trick or whatever. But do you think, and that's maybe it's your opinion, maybe in a book, I don't know, that the way that we teach spiritism or spread the teaching will take a bit more, it's a little bit more difficult to understand? And maybe the person has to grow in, for example, in different religions that teaches spiritualism, and little by little up to the point to accept spiritism?
Well, I'm not an ostensive medium. I never witness a physical phenomenon. I never see a phenomenon of levitation, of things moving by themselves. And I embrace the spiritism. At the time of Kardec, or just before Kardec, or a year before, so the whole Paris was taken over by the seances. There were seances in every corner, everybody was being entertained by the physical phenomena. How is Spiritism doing in France today? There was plenty of witness of the physical phenomena. What's the stage of Spiritism in France, in Paris today? Not
No
much,
idea.
right? Not much at all, right? And why is that? Because the physical phenomena was not enough to hold them to the truth that Spiritism bring. They were not interested. They were interested in the entertainment. They were interested on find out if the team, if the soccer team will win that game or not, if they're gonna get married or not, if the grandpa was doing well in the spiritual world or not. Shallow, no depth at all to it. So if the spirits choose to bring the physical phenomena once again and be on your face here, not gonna do much, as it did not do much in 1856, 1857. Those who were being entertained got tired of it and walked away. Those who were serious remained serious, became spiritists. Just yesterday, somebody was fixing something in my house here, and he was actually asked me what kind of spiritism do I practice. And then I asked, well, the only kind. There is no other kind. There is many other kinds of spiritualism, and they are different, they are good, but spiritism is just one. So he thought about it. He told me that when he was like a child, he was taken to Mesa Branca. And that was in Brazil, by the way. And over there was one lady that was making fun of the whole things that was going on, and completely disbelief, but there, making fun of it. So at one point, one of the mediums, there was one jar filled with water on top of near the medium, and that medium make that jar move toward that person was making fun of them, and it stopped right in front of her. That person was a woman, got up, got her stuff, and run away of the thing immediately. Right? I question what happened to that woman. Did she took the interest to see how that happened, or she's scared and is scared for life, would never mention spirituality should be running away, or she did have the common sense to say how that happened. What's the energy behind that phenomenon? Again, it has to come from the inside, not from the outside. We teach our children what we know. We cannot teach our children what we don't know. And unfortunately, you pass to them all of our prejudices to them. And that's the worst part of our teaching. That very often we unteach, if that's is a word, with our prejudices. You make them scared of things that they should be comfortable with. So we teach them, don't even think about this thing of spirit. It's all stupidity. My best friend in America of all times, she was raised to not believe in God or anything of religion, that was thing meant for the ignorant ones. Unfortunately, she changed her attitude later in life. But we teach what we have, what we can. And I don't think there would be the physical phenomena that would make spiritualism more attractive for many. And I think some would come for the wrong reasons.
Thank you.
Yeah, can you read one more, João?
Okay. Number 2, right? Okay. If we believe in the existence of the soul and its continued individuality after death, we must also believe that, 1, its nature is different than that of the body, since once separated from the body, it can no longer retain its material properties. 2, it possesses its own consciousness because it is subject to happiness or suffering. Without consciousness, it would be an inert being, and thus its existence would be meaningless to us. If we believe this, then it is obvious that the soul must go somewhere after death. But what becomes of it? And where in fact does it go? According to common belief, it either goes to heaven or to hell. But where are heaven and hell? It used to be said that heaven was up above and hell was down below. But where is up above and down below in the universe, since we know that the earth is round and that the heavenly bodies turn in such a way that for us up above and down below are reversed every 12 hours, and that the infiniteness of our outer space can be probed to incommensurable distances. It is true that we can understand low places to mean the depths of the earth, but what are such depths nowadays after they have been excavated by geology? Moreover, what should we understand by those concentric spheres called the heaven of fire and the heaven of stars, since we have learned that our planet is not the center of the universe and that our own sun is only one among millions of other suns that shine in the infinite, each one being the center of its own planetary vortex. What has become of the importance of Earth now that it has been lost in the immensity of space?
Thanks.
Okay.
Okay. So let's leave the manifestation aside. Let's not talking about the final proof of the existence of spirits, which is the manifestation, the mediumistic phenomena. Let's forget about that and let's reason differently. All the spiritualists, they have this belief of something exists, right? The existence of the soul, and that it continues after and continue with individuality, very important, after death. Okay, so we conclude 2 things from here, right? That its nature has to be different from the nature of matter, from the nature of body, right? It cannot, this thing, spirit, if it does exist, be like a physical body, could not be like matter. Once it's not tangible, it's not visible for all of us. According to the tales, it can cross walls, it can fluctuate in the air, and as much as we know, matter cannot do those things. At least human matter cannot do those things. So the nature has to be different. And 2, it must possess its own consciousness. If it gets angry, if it gets happy, if it has an objective, if it has demands, it has to have a consciousness, it has to have a mind. Otherwise, it would have no purpose of being, of existing, and would be of no interest of us, of ours in any way. And if they do exist, where are they now? Some say, according to the tradition of some institutions, that some go to so-called heaven, other goes to so-called hell, and some hang out in the purgatory. But where are those places? And here you see the scientific mind of Kardec, and the reason to it Kardec tells us, if science proves, and the word proves is very important, that something in our book, the Book of Codification, are wrong, please correct the book and follow science. Not to be trapped like many are trapped there right now with this example that he mentions here now. That our science has proved many things that makes no sense with the concept of heaven and hell. that basically eliminates, it kills. Science killed this idea of heaven and hell and purgatory, right? Placing our planet in its true position as one little tiny insignificant planet, so rotating around the sun and not the other way around, eliminating those many heavens, the first heaven, the second heaven, it shows that this is not possible according to our science. And yes, there is depth in our planet that it goes deepest already inside, but our geology has already demonstrated the different levels of the depth of our planet Earth, and it's not conceivable the idea of hell being in the depth of Earth. So where are they now? If it's not, because science already disproved, science already tells us that this thing of heaven and hell, it's not really the case. So if they do exist, where are they? That's a good question, and I think we stop here. We stop at 8:30, Ron? At 8:30?
Yeah.
We started at 8:40, at 7:40.
Or 7:40, so we can read it.
We have 5 minutes more.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
I think this science part goes what you said before, right? Even science proving, and it doesn't really matter, right? It's from the inside.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's take in account that it's someone opened to free oneself from prejudices and is willing to take new information, at least digest those new informations. What happened now when this person is open-minded is reasonable and follows science, and it also is someone with some religiosity, has their religion, and now this is confronted, has to make a decision. Science is rejecting the idea of heaven and hell. What do I do now? Do I stick with science or do I stick with the religion side of me? Which one? I'm gonna have to let one of those go. They cannot live together inside of me. Which one do you take? And let's assume that you do take the side of science. You continue being religious, you continue going to your church or to your temple or to your synagogue or to whatever. But this idea of heaven and hell, science already told me that it's not a good idea. The question persists. Okay, so there is no heaven, there is no hell, I get that. But there is spirits, and they gotta be somewhere. Where are they? See, that is the intelligent, reasonable scientific approach of things. When I say scientific approach, it's not that big academic stuff. This is a scientific approach. You say, you're talking to yourself, okay, I used to believe in heaven and hell, but science showed me that that's not the case. But they do exist. They gotta be somewhere. Where are they? This is science. You question and you look for answers. This is science. Now we could take the different approach and say, oh no, unless the Pope changed that dogma, I will not accept what science is telling me. Earth continues to be the center of the universe, and good boys and girls go to heaven, bad boys and girls gonna burn themselves in hell, and some of us gonna be hanging out on the purgatory are waiting for the final judgment. And that a dogma that I cannot dispute. If you take that approach, then close this book, go home. But if you take the other approach that science has proven us a different reality, the question persists. So where are they?
Yeah, I think for a person that it's up the point we get to the crossroads, let's put that way, he probably will follow through, because a person would only get to that point if she's, him or her is looking for something. And when you are looking for something, or something's missing, or whatever it is, then you're more susceptible to change. But if you present that to a person that's not looking, I think it would be a lot of resistance, even though with science and everything, to accept the change.
Yep, and I totally agree with you when you answer one question there, that you're showing them the physical phenomena and this and that are not gonna make a difference, because they're not looking for that. They're not looking for answers yet. But I
That's right.
agree. I think if you get to this point that you are putting those questions to yourself, you are pretty much ready to take a different approach. I agree with you. Any more comments? I don't think I'm going to continue reading.
Yeah,
It's not going to make sense.
Elmo, can you hear me?
Yeah?
Here, is it possible for me to say that soul, spirit, and consciousness is the same thing? Because I'm talking about the second part. It possesses its own consciousness because it is subject to happiness and suffering. So can I say spirit, soul, consciousness?
The spirit's equal consciousness?
Yeah, spirit is the same
No,
as soul, is spirit the same as
no,
consciousness.
no, because Kardec says it possesses its own consciousness. It doesn't say it is its own consciousness. It possesses it. So it's one of our attributes, something that we have.
Got
It's
it.
a little box where we store the God's divine laws.
Got it. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
so.
and
It's more than consciousness. It's like that. It's more than just consciousness. Yes, got it.
Right, a lot more than that.
Yeah.
And according to Spiritism, for Spiritism, we use soul as the incarnated spirit. And the spirit or errant spirit is when we are in the spiritual world. This is according to Spiritism. For purposes of our studies of Spiritism, soul is the incarnated spirit.
Soul is the incarnated spirit, and then we are errant spirit.
Or spirits, yes.
And consciousness, but consciousness is a compartment within the spirit.
Yes, belongs to the spirit. Yes.
Okay. That's yeah. So the spirit is much more than consciousness. Wow.
well, yeah, but it makes sense because you have plenty of people who are in comas, or even in a lot of the books, where the people are sleeping, the spirits are sleeping, but they're still spirits. They're not conscious, but they're still spirits. Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, you're right. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for the clarification.
Carol, do a final prayer.
Yes, thank you. Infinite Spirit and Supreme Intelligence, we give thanks for the opportunity this evening to be together to study the Medium's book. We are truly grateful for what we have received, for what we have gleaned, and what we will continue to learn through studying this book. We are grateful to our spiritual benefactors, the good spirits, the mentors, and those who are assisting us on our path. We are grateful for their care, their comfort, helping us to have more endurance and more confidence and more courage. We are grateful that we know that we do appreciate and believe in spirits. We believe in the continuity of life, and we know that through science and through reason, we may also glean this in a deeper way. We never give up in learning. We never give up from finding the truth. We are able to do this more effectively through our studies and through the association of others who are doing the same. May we continue throughout the week with our prayers, with our studies, with our mindfulness and contemplations. May we reserve the prayers for others as well. May we ask for safety and protection. May we ask for comfort of those who are suffering, and for the spirits who are making their transition at this time. We are abiding with the knowledge of the laws of Spiritism. We are grateful for what we have received, and may we continue to study, share, serve, and do the best we can each day. We close now and humbly ask for the light and love of Christ to be with us. May we go forth as beacons of light, go forth now in peace. So be it. Thank you. Have a wonderful week.